Let's get into that conversation of schools reopening dilemma. Honorable Wilson Sossion is with us. He's the NAT Secretary General, also nominated Member of Parliament. Mr. Indimuli Kahi is also with us, Kenya Secondary School Heads Association Chairperson, and Otoa Sifuna, a teacher, is also with us. We'll be speaking about this conversation. Let me just start with you, Honorable Sossion. So, practically speaking, is it possible really to reopen schools in October?
Yeah, definitely. It's possible to reopen schools any time. It was possible to do it even earlier. But right now, since the World Health Organization protocol was very clear that countries and nations, with the context of the trend of COVID-19 in every country, could reopen schools after the curve is flattened and with a clear positivity rate suppressed down to below 5% for 14 consecutive days. And there have been all indicators that even the demand for beds in hospital has substantially gone down. In the ICU, it has gone down. The community infection rate has gone down. And the reports of doctors, resident doctors within KNUT have given us similar data. Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, the same. And Universities Academic Staff Union, MEDICS, they've returned with the same report, and it concurs with the Ministry of Health. And therefore, scientifically and empirically speaking, within the guidelines of the World Health, the country should open schools now. It is safe as per the health report, unless there's another spike. So far, right now, we've not seen any indicators of the disease spiking and restraining any preparations of schools. And therefore, we should now begin preparing to reopen schools.
But Honorable Sossion, what does that do to the school calendar? What does it mean then? Because technically we are already on the third term. So do we just continue? Do we start again? What happens? How do teachers catch up?
No, that's an expert business. You see, the problem in Kenya, everybody tries to be an expert of everything. The redesigning of the school calendar and the programs and what to do is the mandate of the ministry, and I think the ministry is doing what is necessary, and the minister will make the announcement at an appropriate time. And as you can see from where I speak and from the context of my responsibility is within teachers, that teachers indeed have to report back to schools by Monday. We've seen some have already reported, they've already started preparations, implementing the WHO, UNICEF, UNESCO health protocols, because those measures must be put in place. It's not that when the curve is flattened and we begin misbehaving and behaving as if the disease is not with us. We are conscious that the disease is with us. So teachers will have to go back and prepare. And one of the key activity is the revised calendar. Teachers will be working on the basis of a revised calendar. And that calendar will seek to recover the lost time so that the fear of repetition and the time lost can be fully recovered. And it shall be recovered with the innovative nature of the teachers of Kenya, and Kenya as a reference country in terms of delivery of quality education and access to education. Those two things, quality and access, we think we should be able to do it. The school calendar will be very important. It shall be defined, and teachers shall work within the revised calendar to cover the content that has been missed out, and also to bring the calendar back to normalcy. The calendar will be brought back to normalcy in the long run. It cannot be done within a short time. And therefore, that is why quick and immediate resumption of learning will be important, so that we can have the early grade pre-primary 2 who should have joined in January next year, joining schools early enough, so that we can have from class A transiting to Form 1 without getting a double intake in double Form 1 classes in our public schools, and also to have the Form 4s who are expected to transit to universities transiting on time, so that there can be normalcy across the board, not just only within the school calendar of the basic education, but the entire education calendar from early childhood to university.
So you're confirming today that after the expert analysis, there will be no time lost. Everything will, the education calendar will be readjusted.
That I can tell the country, the biggest strategy is that there will be no time lost. We shall love to recover the time lost, and that is why teachers have got to go back early, so that they can go through the guidelines that from the ministry, from the Teacher Service Commission, and also develop school context, because education is democracy, and we've enjoyed a lot of democratic space in designing learning and teaching systems within the country, and therefore, and we say there are as many teaching methods as there are many teachers. So the strategies employed from one school to the next may not be the same, but eventually the strategies employed will be geared towards recovering the time lost, and also ensuring that all children are in school and the work is well done. Okay.
We've seen some of the protocols that have been announced in terms of breaks in staggered breaks, people, the staff wearing PPEs. But, the current pupil to teacher ratio in public primary schools is 56:1 against the recommended 40:1. In the public secondary schools, it is 41:1. How then will you ensure social distancing between teachers and the students there? Because you also raised a question there in terms of books. Will they be marking the books, or will they not be marking the books?
Now, those are things to be dealt with within the provision of the guidelines that will get to school. And schools will endeavor to, as much as possible, to ensure that there is social distancing. Schools will endeavor to ensure that there are sanitizers, sufficient sanitizers, all over the learning institutions. Schools will endeavor to ensure that there are PPEs for both learners and teachers, and there will be directives on how to do that. And that is why teachers have got to go back to school, because all that is contained in the guidelines. If classes are too large, what will schools do within their own local context? Will they split classes? And some of the classes are conducted in the open or in other places. So those are the innovative measures that will be employed at the school level to achieve social distance. And how will the students be managed in the dormitories, and how will the sanitization activities be carried out routinely from time to time? Because Obija, and you've realized, Kenyans during the COVID-19 period have complied with the directives of the Ministry of Health, ranging from curfew to sanitization and putting on masks. And we've done it consistently for 7 months. And that is why we have achieved the flattening of the curve early enough. The ball should not be dropped. These are the measures that will still be applied in schools. If we talk of building new classrooms, the current number of classrooms have been built since independence. That is way about 57 years. And if we are to get 3 times the number of classrooms, we might require another 57 years. That is not practically possible. We shall have to make do and get all our children back to school, all of them, at whatever time when it's reopened, and deal with the issues of social distances where circumstances permit very seriously. And I would like to state that we should not have exaggerated expectations. We have seen globally, countries that have reopened, it is very difficult to achieve social distance with respect to learners. The best that can be done is to invest properly in ensuring that the learners are masked, and they have masks all the time, and they sanitize all the time, and the learning environment, the desk and the rest are sanitized all the time, the classrooms are sanitized, and we'll be able to achieve that. I think what will be promoted in line with the public health requirement is serious preventive measures. And also during admission of learners to schools, every morning and every time, and that they can only be admitted using chromograms and checking their temperatures. If we have one child with a running nose, that will not be ignored. And that is why we've got to go back to school so that, if we get a child with a running nose, how do you link with the medical facilities so that such a matter is dealt with? If indeed the disease spikes, that one, we should be prepared. If the disease spikes and we begin getting reports of COVID within schools, how do we deal with such circumstances without causing a lot of scare? So we have to bite the bullet that the disease has not been defeated. It will be in schools, and it's likely to be in schools, and therefore we should prepare and do everything. Work within the world, the WHO protocols to ensure that we are able to contain the disease and strengthen the containment measures where it is permissible. And so the issue of large classes, of course we know, and this is a lesson for Kenya, that we have over-enrolled our classes. It is now time, moving into the future, to expand the infrastructure and reduce the number of learners in every class, not only for health purposes, but even for the overall quality of education. And that is what we'll be advocating as a union. And I think the UNESCO and UN recommendation of class sizes is that learners should range between 25 to 35. But in Kenya, because of 100% transition, improving access, and no wonder, in Global Competitiveness Index in terms of access, we are number one in Africa. And the good thing is that we are still number one in terms of quality. And going into the future, overall, the classes of 56 learners, 70 learners, if you get to secondary schools, it is even worse. The classrooms are full to the brim because of 100% transition. And when you get to the dormitories, the beds are even triple deckers because of trying to accommodate as many learners as possible. So COVID has taught us a lesson of reorganizing our schools, reconfiguring our school infrastructure so that our learners are comfortable, and during such pandemics, it doesn't inconvenience us. Because if we have to strictly ensure that every class has 25 learners in every learning lesson, we might never reopen our schools, and it will be difficult to run our schools. So this is a big lesson learned by the country. And moving into the future, the big investment of government and of the ministry is expanding infrastructure of good quality. And we've also discovered, and this is what we've been campaigning about, delivery of quality education. That quality education means well-trained and motivated teachers, quality teaching and learning tools, and quality learning environment. And now the COVID has indicted us in terms of quality learning environment, that every school must have quality infrastructure that meets international standards with clean running water. That is essential. And if you check our schools, whether primary, particularly primary, secondaries, have had a lot of access to water. But I think primaries haven't. But now all schools must have clean running water. And now we have to focus on the school sanitization system. Thank you.
All right. And let me bring in Mr. Ndimuli Kahi on this. Ndimuli Kahi is the chairperson, Kenya Secondary School Heads Association. Mr. Kahi, can we reconfigure our schools in time if we were to reopen in October? Mr. Kahi?
Well, thank you. I hope I'm being heard.
Yes, you're clear now.
Okay, thank you. What I would say is I want to agree quite to some big extent with Mr. Sossion with his remarks on reopening. Now, there are guidelines that have already been sent to schools, both by the Ministry of Education and the Teacher Service Commission, in terms of preparation to reopen. And when we talk of reconfiguring, we should ask ourselves, what are we reconfiguring? First, for us to prepare to reopen, the teacher is key. And that is why it was important for the teacher to be given, to be asked to start reporting back to school so that they can start supervising the non-teaching staff and others in preparing and rearranging of the schools, classrooms, dormitories, and the rest for those in boarding schools, and ensuring that cleanliness is done. I would want to say that some work has been going on because we've had Ministry of Education officers going around schools advising principals and teachers on what they need to do in their respective schools. So within the time, we are not sure yet on when the schools are going to be officially reopened, but we are seeing indicators that we are soon reopening by the recall of teachers in schools. And what I would want to tell the general public is something that we have kept forgetting is when the minister, after stakeholders meeting, addressed the nation and closed schools. In his statement, he said that the decisions that were made here with the stakeholders regarding reopening of learning institutions may change as informed by reports from Ministry of Health, prevailing circumstances, and increased knowledge of COVID-19. The questions we want to say is, do we have different information from Ministry of Health? The answer is yes. The Ministry of Health has been reporting that we have had infection cases going down, and the positivity rate has consecutively for over 14 days been below 5%, which is very positive. Secondly, we have also seen the Ministry of Health issuing different protocols on how we can bury our loved ones, a clear indications that the curve is flattening. And according to UNESCO, it was very clear that schools will be able to reopen in whatever country based on country information and the information they have from the Ministry of Health. Yeah. So yes, once we get the teachers in schools, they will support the administration in ensuring that what needs to be done is being done on time.
Okay. Let me bring in Sosion to finish up on this before I bring in Otoa Sifuna, because Sosion has to leave. So, Honorable Sosion, is there a possibility of closing down again after reopening? Because we've seen in the UK, Boris Johnson has just urged people to work from home again. There's a new shutdown coming in. So is there a possibility that we might open, see a spike, then shut down again?
Yeah, from where I am, and looking at the global trend, I think the Minister of Health and Government has the responsibility to take the appropriate measures at whatever time. If one of the options shall be to close down schools just in case of a spike, or to close down schools in localized areas because of a spike, that can be done. It is possible. Authorities can take that action if they feel that it is necessary. So it's not something new. It's something that has been done in other countries, just in case of a spike. And we are seeing Germany that they're almost closing down again. The UK, the disease is spiking back. And that is the reality that Kenyans must know. This disease is still with us. Unless we continue strengthening the containment measures, we will be inviting a spike back of the disease. Why didn't the schools reopen early? Because the schools were identified as potential centers of spiking of the disease. And in fact, had we opened in the month of June, from the medical data, the disease would have spiked and we would have witnessed at least 30,000 deaths in the country. Yeah. So it's possible that the disease can spike. That's a fact. That's a possibility. And it is also possible that we can contain the disease if Kenyans continue, not only schools, Kenyans, everybody continues exercising or implementing the protocol measures. So that can be guided by the government. In case of a spike, the Ministry of Health, and I would like to state here that schools are opening under strict supervision of the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
If the Ministry of Health tells the country tomorrow that it is not right to open schools, schools will not open. If, in case of a spike, the Ministry of Health issues such an advisory that schools close down, then schools shall be closed. So we must be prepared for any eventuality. And I would like to say, Trevor, in this COVID situation, Kenya has been very professional. We've not been political. The medical doctors have been at the center and they've been advising us.
Okay.
They are still with us. They will be with us. They will tell us what to do. And by the way, every school from the guidelines will be linked to a medical facility and will be linked to medical personnel. And of course, we've recommended that there should be strong interagency operation in terms of the management of schools before reopening and after reopening. And we are calling on Council of Governors, whose responsibility is that of health, because health is devolved and largely water is also a devolved function, that they'll have a great role to play in ensuring the health security of schools once they reopen, and also ensuring that they supplement the efforts to ensure that there's availability of water. So in case of a spike of a disease, I believe professionally and technically speaking, the Ministry of Health and the medical experts shall guide appropriately. It will not be a decision of the Board of Management. It will not be a decision of the school. It will not be a decision of a political institution. It will not be a decision of media conversations like we are doing. It will be a scientific medical advisory from the Ministry of Health. So the Ministry of Health is not going on holiday. They must be with us in schools and deal with the issues, health issues that will arise in schools. And in fact, we shall have to be referring every sick child to the nearest medical facility for quick attention and diagnosis. So it's not going to be very easy. The healthcare activities will be the topmost priority in the running of our schools from time to time.
All right. Honorable Sossion, I have to let you go. Thank you so much for making time for us. I know you have another meeting right now. Honorable Wilson Sossion.
Thank you, Trevor. I wish you well.
Thank you so much. He's a NAT Secretary General.
And I urge Kenyans not to politicize reopening of schools. We should all work together and support the government and the ministry and teachers. Support teachers. Teachers will need a lot of support in managing the reopening of schools and handling the learners and managing the disease. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable Wilson Sossion, NAT Secretary General there. Let's bring in Otoa Sifuna. Otoa Sifuna, we are talking about teachers here. You are a teacher yourself. Are you ready to go back to school?
Good morning, Trevor. I'm actually also very happy as a teacher to be part and parcel of this team discussing this. I describe it as a very dicey situation that needs very meticulous and very sober lenses to look at it. Trevor, we must take into recognition the fact that by the time our schools closed, we closed the schools at one case that was at JKIA. We still have, right now as we speak, and I speak as a very, very objective teacher, that the numbers that we are still getting, we are very, very proud and happy, and our prayers have been answered, that the curve is flattening. I teach English and literature. When you say that the curve is flattening, you are using the ING Gerard, which means that there is some level of progressiveness. Yeah? And taking that into mind, we must now admit one reality. And I have no problem with my two seniors, Wilson Sossion, as well as my good friend Indimuli, who represents us as the Heads Association. The two seniors have said this, and I want also to go on record, that the Kenyan teachers across the 47 counties are ready. They were even as much as ready to report back to school as early as yesterday. However, Trevor, and I like the way in which you are questioning. You are putting the question here. What should happen should we have a second strike? I want to say this very quickly, Trevor, that the blame that at this particular time we should be talking about how do we build the levels of trust in all the educational stakeholders. I expected my senior brother in the Muli to right now address, look at the Kenyan teacher into the eye and tell him, as your leader, yes, we are ready to go back to school, but we must recognize that we have got other pressing issues that we must address before you guys go to school on Monday. Are you aware that most of the teachers you represent are 50 years plus in terms of the demographics and the age bracket in this country? So we are talking of a teaching fraternity in this country that is highly susceptible to the virus. Should we have even one single kid in any corner of this country figuring what we are seeing in Europe, in the UK, what we saw in South Africa, and what we saw in Israel? Trevor, three quick things. One, have we considered the psychological condition of our candidates? Why are we, so John talks of normalizing the academic calendar. If you look at the breakdown, Trevor, very clearly, we have got a third term that is now going to be the final. Because by the time we closed schools, Trevor, we had that first term, and second term was shy with almost 2 weeks or so. The entire third term had not been taught. If we reopen schools now, and we expect that the candidate class is going to sit for the exam in April, yeah? Yes, I know the dynamic nature and the industrial nature of the Kenyan teacher.
Yeah.
But we must face the reality and ask difficult questions. Are we not going to have a crash program at the detriment of the psychological condition of our candidate classes? Why? The question I keep on asking, why must we be a country that is so much exam-oriented? And like my two seniors have said, cannot learn, if COVID-19 cannot give us lessons out of this, then we shall be the zombies of the 21st century. Part of those lessons, Trevor, and I want to summarize them into two. One, we must restructure our educational structure in the sense that we must not be an exam-oriented nation, whereby if grade 4, standard 8 and Form 4 have not done their summative evaluation, the cabinet secretary will define the academic year as having been lost. The question I keep on asking as Otoa Sifuna is what has been lost? Yeah? Because you cannot say that the academic year has been lost just because somebody has not sat for the final assessment. There are 1,000,001 assessment criteria that if we actually looked at and being formative day to day, we can actually talk of having a global. But Trevor, I cannot stop on this without also looking at our priorities. Yes, the teachers have been told to report on Monday, but what happened? What are the teachers going to do in school? I thought that the first priority group will be the support staff. And in the morning, looking at me, knows very well that we still now have a very big issue with the support staff who for over 6 months have been laid off. They are out of employment. Our BOM teachers have issues, and ever you know that. So, as we open, and teachers have no problem in going to school and executing their role, which they were hired by the Teachers Service Commission. But are we in a position to say that the trust levels among parents, the trust levels among teachers, and the trust levels even among the safety of our learners have been guaranteed? This is a very precarious group. Maybe to give me the second option, I will explain some of the challenges that some of these learners will face in as much as navigating through COVID-19.
Okay, we'll get to the challenges in just a bit. Ndimuli Kahi, I'll bring you just a bit right after the break because there are several questions that have been raised by Otoa Sifuna there. I'll give you a chance to respond to them right after this quick break that we are taking right now on Daybreak. Keep your views coming at Citizen TV Kenya. Trevor Mbija. Use the hashtag Daybreak. We're back in just a bit.
Show. Mimi sikumada Toby.
They've given us the sounds we love. The priceless beats that set the mood for dance, celebration and love. But the stage is now quiet. And what we do for them will define us. Viusasa Music is giving you a chance to show them some love in these tough times and keep the spirit of Kenyan music alive. Simply log on to Viusasa, watch as many songs as you want, and help your favorite artist put something on their table. Viusasa, empowering Kenyans.
Online allows customers to place an order at virtually any time from anywhere, saving on time and transport costs.
Glovo is now in Kiambu, Ngong, Rongai, Kikuyu, Jacaranda Gardens and Kitengela up to Green Park Estate. Order Glovo and we'll deliver in minutes.
Preparation is key to preventing serious diapering emergencies. Keep an extra diaper and a small package of diaper wipes in multiple places.
So, what's the best diaper for baby? It's got to be the softest. And it should stay dry.
Soft care, every baby's asking for.
Well, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The hashtag is Daybreak at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. We're still talking about the school's reopening dilemma. We still have Mr. Ndimuli Kahi. He is the chairperson, Kenya Secondary School Heads Association. We'll find him in just a bit. There seems to be some technical issues there. Also, Otoa Sifuna, teacher, is with us. Earlier on, we were speaking to Honorable Wilson Sossion, NAT Secretary General, on this particular issue. But let's bring in Ndimuli Kahi on this. There were several questions that were raised by Otoa Sifuna. One, are you aware that the teachers, mostly more than half of them, are beyond 50 years plus, therefore they're in the susceptible category? How are you going to ensure that they're going to be taken care of in school? Have you assessed the psychological conditions of the candidates? And we have a situation where the third term is now almost like the first term. How will we catch up in the educational calendar? Ndimuli.
Thank you very much, Ombija. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, you're clear.
Thank you very much. Otoa Sifuna has been firing, but I want to appreciate that they are friendly fire. But you know, friendly fire also kills. But I would like to respond to some of the concerns he has raised and also tell him I would not have talked about them because I was responding to a specific question that had been asked. Having said that, I have to say, yes, we are aware that the teaching force is an aging force, and this is very clear with the employer who is aware of this. And in the circular dated 21st September 2020 that was directing teachers to come to class, the employer has clearly stated that there should be proper sharing of duties and responsibility among all teachers while making deliberate efforts to protect staff with underlying conditions. Definitely, the employer is aware of this, and further guidance will be given on how we can handle the teachers, the aging staff, and those with underlying conditions. So this is very clear with us, and it will be specifically per school to see what challenges they are facing with the number of teachers they are having, and we shall raise it with the employer. Having said that, yes, we are aware there are challenges with the support staff. Mr. Otoa said, and that is very true. They have gone for some months without salary in quite a number of our schools. And this one, we have raised the matter very clearly with the Ministry of Education. Ministry of Education did issue a circular dated 20th August 2020 that showed how disbursement of funds will be done. It is unfortunate that the operation account that was expected to have been credited with funds from which we can pay the non-teaching staff, the support staff in schools, that money has not been credited. And we are still asking Ministry of Education and the Treasury to release these funds to enable the non-teaching staff be paid so that they are well motivated to join in the preparation and cleaning of the school for it to start. The issue of the Board of Management Teachers. I want to state here that the Ministry of Education did do an analysis from the data that was submitted by schools to the sub-county directors, where it was populated and finally transmitted to the Ministry of Education. Funds were released to various schools to pay the BOM the teachers for 6 months to end in December. That is from July to December. About 10,000 per teacher per month. But there are issues that when I inquired, I was advised as follows. One, that only teachers, BOM teachers with the Teacher Service Commission number registered in this country as teachers were paid. Number two, that where we had 2 teachers sharing a TSC number, only one was paid. Where there was teachers and no TSC number, none was paid. Of course, there have been issues of delayed funds. Some banks had not yet credited this money as late as last Friday, and therefore we were expecting from Monday this will be done. Apart from that, there are those colleagues that have claimed that though they submitted data, they are yet to receive any money, even in the banks that had already credited for other institutions. This one, we want to leave it to the sub-county directors, individual principals, and Ministry of Education to sort out. Yes, we must build trust so that parents are able to bring their children to school. And one way of beginning to build that trust is by ensuring that we are in school and indicators that we are preparing for our children to come back. There are issues of psychosocial challenge of our candidates. Otoa said we have not dealt with it. Definitely we would not be able to deal with it because the children are at home. But once they are with us as teachers in school, and Otoa knows this, while they are with us in school, we will be able to offer the support that is required. Now, coming to the calendar. While I would not want to divulge just so much details, given that I am a member of the COVID-19 Response Committee that has been meeting and advising the Cabinet Secretary on the way forward and reopening, I'm therefore privileged to a few, quite a number of information and strategies that are going to be put in place. But I'm not at the moment in a position to divulge a lot of it until the official date of reopening is done or is announced by the Cabinet Secretary or by the President. Then we can start saying, why was this considered? What did you put in place? What did you look at before you reached at the A, B, C, D? So, Trevor, I may not want to give a lot of details on that. But what I would want to say is that, yes, adequate measures have been put in place to ensure that no teaching learning time is lost, not only for candidates, but for all children, from PP1 to Form 4. No teaching time will be lost. There will be no time where we are saying that we are skipping so that we fast track these children to sit their exams. So that has been done. But it will take time for us to normalize the calendar to get back to the calendar of January. That will take time, and it is based on when we officially bring back the children in school. So the curriculum experts have adequately advised, and the plans have been put in place, and adequate teaching learning time has been allocated for that. Yeah,
okay.
We are definitely opening these schools at a very trying time, and a lot will have to be done, specifically in ensuring that our schools are more clean than they have been. Cleaning of surfaces, cleaning of classrooms regularly, and of course the issue of sanitizing. I want to mention here, there will definitely be very much controlled use of sanitizing liquids, sanitizers. We are aware that they are alcohol-based. We are aware what can easily happen with some of our students when they get in touch or when they come into contact with this. They can also be mischievous. So there will be controlled use of sanitizers in schools, but a heightened use in proper cleaning of surfaces, classrooms, desks, and all others using other cleaning methods. There will be heightened use of hand washing. And this is where we are still calling on everybody from county governments to be ready to support schools in providing water in these areas that has no water, tanks for storage. So there will be heightened use of that and heightened use of masks. Now, will teachers mark books? Yes, the teachers will definitely mark books. We have to put in place provision for teachers to have sanitizers, where they can regularly sanitize. After marking a number of exercise books, they sanitize. And then continue marking again after some number, they sanitize. This will happen because no teaching and learning can take place unless the teacher is also able to assess what his or her learners are going through and offer appropriate advice. This will be done. Now, Otoa has really highlighted, and I agree with him, on the issue of exam-oriented system of education. Kenya, we are aware, we really put a lot of emphasis on the summative evaluation. And that is why, as a country, we are now in the process of changing the curriculum from the current one to the competence-based curriculum that lays emphasis on formative assessment. And there has been a little bit of introduction of this formative assessment in our current system. And we want to continue asking Kenya National Examination Council to cascade this to other subjects. For example, when you look at agriculture practicals, computer and what, there are milestones that their teachers and students are expected to upload within a given period, so that you can track and see how the child is developing and marks entered for that. At the end of it, you are able to use that mark in addition to a summative one to give this child a grade. So I agree with Otoa that it is important now as a nation to start reimagining a new way of assessment. We have also to reimagine the way we are going to deliver curriculum. at this point in time, when we split classes, we will need more teachers. And already we have had shortfall of teachers. So we must, as a nation, start investing in other modes of curriculum delivery, innovative ways, using ICT, not only when the students are at home, but even internally. And that's why I fully agree and with the president when he said that we are going to be employing as a nation some interns or ICT interns to support education. So we would like to see these ones employed so that they can come in, support schools in setting up ICT infrastructure in school, because we are saying if I have 60 students and I've split them into 3 groups, I am one teacher. How do I leverage on technology so that as I teach in one room, the other 2 rooms are also following my lessons? So we have to start thinking in those innovative ways. So there is a lot of reimagining that will come in place, but it can only come as we move on with the students, realize the challenges that are there, and offer advice and adjustments that are required. I think for now, maybe we'll talk more as we continue discussing the topic.
Having been explained to that by Ndimuli Kahi, and of course there are some of the protocols that are still held close to the chest, which will be announced by the CS for Education. What are some of the challenges that you're still seeing that you're not satisfied with?
Trevor, I'm partly convinced with Kahi Ndimuli's measures and suggestions put on the table. But I still want to say that this is the time in which I think COVID-19 has given us time, Trevor, to go to the drawing board and iron out this issue. Kahi Ndimuli, you must be aware that even the teacher's medical cover that is run by AON has been coupled with a myriad of problems and challenges. We are talking of a very difficult time where anything can happen. Yes, we're going back to school, and we have no problem. And Trevor, I want everybody to know that Otoa Sifuna as a teacher is not opposed to teachers going back to school. But as we go back to school and welcome our learners, we must take cognizance of these challenges. Part of the challenge, Kahi Ndimuli, is even on the nature of the medical cover that the Teacher Service Commission has given to its members. The AON medical cover has been coupled with a myriad of challenges. Right now, as we speak, other privileged membership of this country are having a superior medical cover that can now swing into action and help any member who has developed COVID-like symptoms. The poor teachers of this country, and I keep on asking whether the teachers of this country are born of a lesser God. I think this is the right time. I think the teachers of this country need prayers more than any other person. Bwana Omija, I also want to tell you that it's not magic. It is not something that you cannot reach away, that the proximity of teachers to the students is really going to be compromised. Yes, even when Sosion and Ndimuli talks of trying to bring in more teachers and all that, trying to bring in other interventions. The very good question we are looking at, even if you hire the teachers now, even if you talk of strategies to reduce the numbers or the number of learners now, but the infrastructure, the classes remain as they are. The question that people are asking, where are our learners going to learn from so that they actually observe that 1 meter distance? Are they going to learn under the verandas? Are they going to learn under trees or on stone? Because you go to some schools in this country, and let us not have that cobweb eyes when we walk into the cities or some urban places, and we deny ourselves the critical mindset that some schools in the remote part of this country are actually languishing into the miasma of abject poverty in terms of infrastructure. Number 2, Trevor, I keep on saying this, that when we talk of education, it is a holistic thing. It brings every stakeholder on it. Where have we left, again, the very poor parents of this particular country? Why are we running away from this question to not recognize the fact that the Kenyan parent has really gone through a lot of stressing moments that has been occasioned by COVID-19. Never as we speak, and I really like Citizen because you hear or you look at issues that are happening and affecting the local Mwananchi. We are speaking of a good percentage of the Kenyans who are out of employment or are on salary cut or they are struggling to get even the 3 meals a day. Is a mirage. Then you tell them that in less than 1 week, I want your son or daughter to travel all the way from Kakamega to Mombasa to go back to school. And I'm sure Kai Indimuli, representing the head association of this country, the following Monday, they will say that here is your fee statement. It has to be paid in full. Banakai, I think we need to be very meticulous. We need to be sober and look at these issues. Somebody was asking, yes, we have been out for 6 months. What will be the collateral damage of just waiting a little while in less than 1.5 months till January? Because psychologically, you have also informed into the minds of the parents and into the minds of the candidates that schools will reopen. Never you are seeing some of the jokes going online on when schools are going to reopen. And the 3 months from June to October to November to January are actually integrated. So if you did ask, and even as we speak now, even Kai Indimuli is not so sure whether the exact timing in which the schools are going to reopen. So this kind of confusion in quotes has actually proved to us more challenging than giving us a direction.
Okay.
But like I said, Trevor, every cloud has its own silver lining. What are the lessons that we must come out of the COVID-19? Should we go the South Africa way? Should we go the UK way? Should we go the Israel way? I'm telling you, even the cabinet secretary, my good friend, Professor George Magoha, you shall have a very difficult task to explaining to that particular parent whom I already envisage will have already taken you to court for exposing his child to danger. So, Trevor, whether there is internal or external pressure as to why schools must reopen immediately, I can't say that. But what I'm saying is these challenges must be addressed. We have talked about the question of transition. Yes, we are putting capital on the candidate class to finish and go. The question is, where are they going? What is happening with other classes? Because we are being told that the other classes will actually repeat. Yeah. So, and take a very good example, Trevor.
Yeah.
What is going to be happening at the ECD level? The children have grown. Yeah. Others are coming to join the pre-primary. We are talking of this lower group actually stagnating for another 1 year. We are moving the standard 8 and we are moving the form 4. Yeah?
Okay.
When we talk of transition, it has moved all the way from bottom up. So you cannot transit one group and retain the other and say that we are actually solving a problem. And the two seniors of mine in the Muli and Constitution thought that it is going to take time before we normalize. What collateral damage are we doing to the current standard 8 and the current form 4? Bwana
Ombija need to talk.
Yeah.
I'm telling you for sure before my senior comes in. Unless we psychologically address this problem, you can see very bizarre happening with our boys.
Otoa, you have to let Indimuli answer some of your questions. Otoa, hold on.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ombija. I'm loving what Otoa is saying. But I want to say that some of the things my good friend Otoa is bringing up are rumors. Who told Otoa that other classes are going to repeat, because I've not seen it anywhere. I must say I've interacted with a lot of information on school reopening, but I've not seen it anywhere that the other classes are repeating. So Mr. Toa is responding to rumors, which I would like to dispel here, that until we are told clearly by the Ministry of Education that other classes are repeating, it would be wrong for us to discuss something that is neither here nor there. Having said that, I want to also agree with Otoya in some areas. One, yes, the teachers' medical cover has issues. And this we have discussed at length. And Kenya Secondary School Heads Association and Kenya Primary School Heads Association have formed a small committee that is discussing issues of medical cover, not only in this COVID, but the general medical cover of teachers. And once we have come up with a comprehensive paper, as the two associations, we will be presenting this to the employer. I would also want to say this, that at times we may be responding when we are lacking data. Very quickly, let me tell you, in terms of population, schools with 2,000 students and above, because our largest school in this secondary school in this country has a population of about 2,400. But schools with above 2,000 students in Kenya are only 11. Schools with about 1,500 students to 2,000 are 56. Schools with 1,000 students to 1,500 are 244. Schools with 500 students to 1,000 are 1,375. Schools with 300 students to 500 are 2,111. While schools with less than 300 students are 5,041. Now, what does this one tell us? That the schools with a smaller population are more, and therefore these schools may not really be facing the challenge of social distancing. The schools that may be facing the challenge of social distancing are those that have a population of 1,000 and above. A few with 500 students may be included. So, and they are mainly in the sub-county schools. And that is why when the government came up with the stimulus package and the provision of desks and chairs for students, you remember the minister said it is going to the sub-counties, because though they have fewer students, they also lack very, very basic things like chairs and even not enough teachers, you see. So that is where the desks are going. There has been that argument of, which I also held before, I must admit, that we do not need desks. But having gotten details on where these desks will be given, they are given to those schools in the sub-county that have challenges in that. So we have a number of schools that we need to find ways of mitigating that challenge of social distancing. But it is not an easy thing. I was looking at when the guidelines were produced, I put together a team for our school, and we have come up with reopening of Machako School amid COVID-19 guidelines based on the guidelines given by the Ministry of Education. And I want to tell you that if I have a population of 1,600, and I require now an extra 44 classrooms if we are going to go by the 1 meter rule. I need to put up another dormitory. If the budget that the team came up with in order for us to mitigate all this is running into hundreds of millions, that is one school. What about other schools that are there? So I agree with Otoa that the challenge is, do we have the classrooms? Have we put them in place? But I would again say, do we have the funds as a nation to put up this infrastructure in all schools? So the challenge of putting up the infrastructure is there, and that is why we want to call on other well-wishers and others to come in and support government in helping in this. Now, the issue that Otoya did raise on transition, of course, transition has been a major issue. And one challenge we have faced is because of that overemphasis on national examinations, that we transit with that. And the reason why we need to think of bringing the children back, we should also look at age, right? Because transition, apart from just sitting the exam to transit, our transition has been based on age. So the more we keep these children out, the older they become, and the more difficult it will be to bring them back to school. And it is not only teachers. I've had a long conversation with the teachers across this country. They call and we share. And already they also say, hey, coming back October, and I keep asking them, who has said you're coming back October? The date has not been announced. But already they said, oh, I wish it had been moved to January. Now, if it moves to January, then maybe we shall have others say, I wish it was moved to March because I've had this, so that we begin from March where we closed. So there will never be an agreed time across Kenya that now schools can open. As a nation, we just have to take a decision and say we are beginning from here. Education experts, curriculum designers come in and tell us this is how you are going to manage the curriculum so that no teaching time is lost. No pressure is given to any child, and all children transit to the next class without having to ask any child to repeat.
Okay.
And I think that will be my view on that.
Okay, Otoa, hold on one second. We spoke to some parents out there, and this is what they had to say from Eldoret in terms of the reopening of schools. Listen.
Uasin Gishu County economy mainly depends on a number of students who are in various universities or institutions in this particular county. But now, as the government plans to reopen schools, many parents are feeling like it's not yet time for the government to reopen schools. And this is what they had to say.
Hatutaruhusu, afadhali mtoto awe akiishi, awe ai, kuliko aende Nairobi na ambukizwe na aende bana. Unajua saa hii wakati tumeanza kupanga uzazi watoto wachache, sasa wakienda huko bana na waende tutapaki bila watoto. Kwa hivyo hatutawaruhusu kabisa watoto wetu. Afadhali kukosa masomo lakini uwe na mtoto wako.
Maoni yangu ni hivi, serikali kwanza kitu ya maana juu unaona watu kama sisi, sekta yangu ni ya entertainment. Sijekuwa kazi for the last 6 months. So kitu ya kwanza tungeweza enda kumuomba bwana rais afungue uchumi kwanza, kama ni pub, clubs zifunguliwe kwanza, at least tuweze kupata pesa ndio tuweze kulipa school fees. Tayari mind tulikuwa tumeambiwa na bwana Magoa early this year wanafunzi watarudi shule next year. So ile pesa kidogo tulikuwa tumesave, na wakati hatuendi kazi ilibidi tukule yote.
Mimi niko tayari watoto kwenda shule. In fact, it is long overdue. Shule ndagona zile zimefunguliwa kitambo. Kuna vitu mingi ambavyo watu wanafanya, wanachanganyika. And I don't know why the government is delaying. I think this government is very incompetent. Tanzania people are going to school. And many other, I was in South Sudan, a country where most hospitals are not there. They don't have a lot of facilities, and life is just going on. Corona is a disease but which is not life-threatening.
Wazazi wamepangia wanafunzi warudi shule Januari. Saizi hakuna mzazi amejipanga saizi.
Ama kama serikali watakuwa wanaona ni haraka, pia watoe pesa na wakaramie. Ile pesa tu inakopwa nje, pesa mingi, mabilioni ya pesa, walipie sisi karama hiyo ya second term. Kwa sasa wote Kenya mzima iwe free, alafu tutajipanga mwaka ujao tutakuwa tayari kuchilipia.
Na ningependa kurai serikali kwamba watoto wafungue shule Januari, kwa sababu saizi pato kuna hii mambo ya COVID, na pia wazazi tumefinyika kiasi, hatuna school fees.
Kwa hivyo hata kikaa mpaka Januari haitakuwa mbaya, na tunaomba serikali watufungulie curfew, biashara ifunguliwe, angalau tutapata pesa ya Januari.
warudi shule saizi, warudi January kwa sababu saizi wazazi tumesota. Hatuna hata shilingi moja, ndio at least to prepare mind yetu tujue January watoto wanarudi shule, at least ndio warudi vizuri kama tuko mind iko set, hata wenyewe watakuwa wako set.
Many are now calling on President Uhuru Kenyatta first to concentrate and open the economy so that they can collect the money they require and send their children back to school when come January. John Wanyama, Citizen TV, Uasin Gishu County.
All right, and that is where we wind up the conversation on education. I'm sure we'll have this conversation again. Honorable Wilson Sossion was here earlier on, NAT Secretary General, Mr. Indimuli Kai, the chairperson, Kenya Secondary School Heads Association, and of course, Otoa Sifuna, teacher. We will have this conversation again. We just ran out of time.